Greetings, fellow Honkai boys. This is Timon and Mari here today with another Honkai guide. So before getting into it, I do just want to let anyone who's new to the channel know that there is a Discord for my channel where we hang out and discuss the games. We do have a Honkai section, and my mod Sin was nice enough to get roles set up neatly and organized for both Honkai and Action Timon. And so yeah, anyone who's interested in joining, the link will be in the description. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Today I have a simple guide for you guys. I just want to go over the shop and the mini currencies in the game to kind of give new players some directions, because I've been getting some whispers telling me that the game has too many currencies, and I agree, it's pretty overwhelming. So I'll kind of go into how to spend them with you guys. So the first place we're going to look at is the logistics terminal. This refreshes daily, and essentially what you're going to have are low-rank Valkyrie fragments for gold coins, and various purchases for mithril, asteroid, or crystals. Now, as a general rule, I don't buy anything that would cost crystals because they're better spent on gacha and for nice pretty things in the game. So definitely crystals are something you hoard. Do not use them to pick up things from the logistics terminal. Currencies like mithril, which would be this guy here. So this would be 23k mithril. This is worth it if you have the mithril lying around. Like these fragments I brought, this Blood's Embrace part, I believe they were like 7200 mithril. Things like this are fine to buy as long as you have mithril lying around, since it is easy to come by. So like, I'm not saying spend like 25k to 50k mithril a day, but yeah, like something for 7,000, that's a safe daily buy. And if you find that you want to do a B rank bounty, yeah, pick this up. So anything for mithril I'd say is okay. The Valkyrie fragment here costed coins. Early on, money's a little tight when you first start the game because you're still leveling new Valkyries, and you can really bottleneck yourself if you're not smart with money. So I would suggest maybe holding off on buying these fragments, since like the Valkyries that appear here aren't super great. But later in the game, when like you have money lying around, it's easy to spend. Like this was 28,000 gold. You could just pick this up and not really care about it. But early on for a new player, probably save your gold to be sure you can level your girls. The last currency being used here would be this purple spears called Asteroid. Now Asteroid, I would not spend at least on this item because it is harder to come by. Like I've been hoarding it and you see I only have 95,000. So definitely be picky about what you spend your Asteroid on. Like early on until you really learn what it's used for. It's like I would probably not use it in the logistics terminal personally. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the exchange shop. So how this shop basically works is you're going to be able to get these currencies called Stigmata Resonance, which is the red currency, and Weapon Resonance, which is the blue currency. So Weapon Resonance is obtained from gacha weapons only, and basically what you can do is if you don't need the item, you break it down and it will reward you 1,000 of this resonance. 4,000 would allow you to buy an item from this shop. And there are various like gacha weapons in this shop that have been added over time because maybe they're older or just for ease of access because they don't come up as often. So I'm not going to go into the whole list here because then that's going to be a whole nother thing. I just want to give you guys an idea of how to get the currency, what it's for. Now, if you don't like what's available to you, or if what you need isn't here, you get free refreshes every week, and it resets every 7 days. So this will stay here unless I refresh it. And then the next setup would come up, and I would be able to do that 6 times within the week to fish for kind of what I want to use my currency on. So moving away from how the shop works, how Stigmata Resonance are received are from open world tasks. You're going to get 5 adventures on varying days of the week, those days being Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. So you get a total of 15 adventures a week in your adventure mode. Or in your open world mode, rather. So when you play that mode, do those adventures, it's going to raise your adventure level, which does cap at 30, and I believe at 30 you get 240 of these a week. But as long as you start doing your adventures early on, you'll be able to start saving these up, because you see here it does cost 6,000 of them to get one of the stigmatas from this shop. So it's very worth it to do your adventures and save this currency. You can also obtain them the same way you can obtain weapon stigmas. Any stigmata from the gacha that you maybe have that you don't want can be broken down into 1,000 of these, and you can use that to buy them as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the exchange shop. Moving on to the dorm shop. So I'm sure everyone's been introduced to this little currency here, work points cards. You get them for sending your Valkyries out on errands inside of your dorm. So I'm not going to go into how to get them, but basically what they're used for is you can use them to buy phase shifters, any one of these varying Valkyrie eggs, which have a chance to drop a character card or fragments. These advanced skill materials here are these dorm cards, which you can get 3 a month, and these fallen crystalliums, which you can get 2 per month from here. So as you guys can see, like, I have a nice chunk of it. I do not use it on any other thing here except for the dorm cards, because that's 3 pulls in your dorm gacha monthly, and I use it on the fallen crystallum to be able to get stuff from the battle pass that's up at the time, since this item is used to buy weapons and gear from there that are featured in the battle pass. So even free-to-plays can get their hands on 2 per month, and over time, yeah, they'll add up for you to be able to buy gear. But if you buy the battle pass, you do get 1 piece of gear per month. But that's neither here nor there. The crystallums and the dorm tickets are the best thing to buy. And if you're hurting for phase shifters and you have a surplus, like you see here, I brought 20 phase shifters because I needed them. This is an okay buy too, but if you're not hurting for phase shifters, like right at that moment, I wouldn't use them here, and I would simply focus on the dorm tickets and the crystallums and phase shifters in emergencies, because later you will need phase shifter to upgrade pretty much any piece of gear you're going to come across, because you'll be dealing with all high-end gear. Alright. So that's it for the daily shop section. Next we're going to come into the activity shop. So the first shop you're going to see is the War Treasury, and you're going to be met with 2 currencies here. So the first currency we're going to look at is Ancient Willpower. This is earned from the Memorial Arena, and you're able to buy them monthly using this here. You're able to buy 210 of them per month. And I believe this takes, I want to say Mithril and Asteroid. I know it takes Asteroid. It takes 2 currencies. I don't remember the other. Unfortunately, I brought mine early this month. But yeah, this is a worthwhile buy. Always get this when you're sitting in the currency to do so. These are a part of the Fallen Rosemary event, so a newer player may not have them bought yet. But yeah, if you want to build the Fallen Rosemary Rita here, then these are required to do so. But they do draw on your Ancient Willpower. They are expensive. So for someone new, like, there's other things you should focus over Fallen Rosemary. But I'm just letting you know she's there in the shop. She is worth it to buy if you do. One of the first things you should want to buy from here, as someone completely new, is you would want to get your hands on Phoenix. Because even if you got her from the egg, she's infinitely more useful at double S. So if you just take the time and farm up 100 free Phoenix fragments from this shop, then yeah, she'll be able to compete in in-game and she'll be just fine. Other worthwhile buys would be the Lightning Empress May here. She's always worth it. Night Moonbeam Kiana is always worth it. Molotov Cherry is worth it because of her Fervent Tempo Augment Core. And even Violet Executor and Memento Sakura are worth it. I would stay away from buying Dimension Breaker and Blood Rose, as even getting them to higher like ranks, like as far as double S and S or triple S, just doesn't, they're just not as good as other Valkyries, like, so I wouldn't make them a priority. The same thing goes for 6 Serenade Kalin. She's okay, but she's not anywhere near as good as the other stuff. I definitely focus Phoenix to double S first. That's a priority. And then depending on what teams you're building, you know, branch out to Memento, Violet Executor, Lightning Empress May, Night Moonbeam, or Molotov Cherry. And the last thing in the shop would be Fallen Rosemary fragments, which again, for a newer player, they'll just be too costly. So kind of stay away from them. But yeah, later on you can definitely pick at her and work on her. Now the other currency, Ancient Legacy, these are more earned later on for doing things inside of your seasonal rewards for Memorial Arena and activities like Direct C and Q Singularis, which would be your Abyss content. So you'll probably be unlocking Abyss, I want to say like 25 if I'm remembering right. So you'll start to see these trickle into your inventory. Right now they're only really used to purchase Rita. So yeah, if you have her already, just hoard them. Like, for people who have played the game longer, maybe you're mid-level and you have your hands on her, just hoard them, because maybe they'll release another S rank like this, or use them to push her to double S. But again, new players, you probably won't get your hands on enough of them to buy her up. So just relax and let them kind of trickle into your inventory, and you'll have a nice clump for later, when you really need them. Next is the Battle Arsenal. So golden pins are used here. Now, you could buy various things and they're all useful, like the smelted cores are useful for when you're going to start working on Valkyrie cores. The Starlit Astrologos fragments are useful, and so are the Darkbolt Jonin frags. I would prioritize Starlit Astrologos over Darkbolt Jonin though, if you're wanting a Valkyrie from here. The AE Imaginons are useful for buying Honkai core fragments. Phase shifters, as stated earlier, are always useful, and same for SS Imaginons, as they are used to craft stigmatas. I don't really buy the bounties, and the coins are so cheap they could be useful if you're really desperate for gold, but I probably wouldn't buy like the skill materials or the coins over the other stuff mentioned here. What I do make a point to buy every week are these mini wafer black boxes. I buy all 3. And I make a point to buy the normal crystal cores, because when you get higher level and you're ready to affix your stigmata and reroll them, you're going to need a ton of these currencies. So I just pick them up every week as I farm golden pins, because I am in need of them constantly. Outside of them, the most important things for me would be the phase shifters and the AE Imaginons. These are what I go for personally, because I always need Imaginons for Honkai core fragments, and I always need phase shifters for upgrading gear. SS Imaginons, I have a surplus, but I guess they can be brought. And like I said, the smelted cores are good when you're working on cores, definitely pick these up. And Starlit Astrologos would be the priority out of the 2 Valkyries here, since she's a great support for physical types. Looking at the Co-op shop, we're going to have this little Jade currency. This would drop from co-op raids and tactical training. You can also exchange for them here using 1 AE Imaginon and 200 United tokens. Now United tokens would be able to be brought in the Mithril shop using your Mithril. They are very expensive if you do it that way. You can also get it from any co-op missions that you run. So yeah, that would be how you obtain these. As far as what they're used for, you can buy these time seal boxes, which would basically award back time structures, which are used for bounty currency. You can get back more United tokens, oddly enough, and you can get back experience chips, super experience chips rather. The beads can be used to buy what's called Mind Stones, which are useful in upgrading your elves at later level. You can get your hands on phase shifters for 12 jades and 560 tokens. I believe this upgrades equipment. Yeah, it's an equipment upgrade item. This would be 200 tokens. You can get Harmony Strands for 1000 Mithril. These are always worth it to buy if you're pushing ranked content. And then you can use one of this currency, I don't even remember what it's called. Yeah, Solium, to be able to get your hands on more United tokens. Honestly, the things I really go for from here are the Honkai cores. The fragments anyway, since they are version limited. I make sure to buy these up as they come back. And everything else I kind of just ignore. Like, the only thing I really go for would be maybe like the Harmony Strands if I'm running low, which I really never am, because they're really like, they're not expensive. Like, you use a few of them, you get the buff for your Memorial Arena and your Abyss, and then that's it. You have it for 3 hours, and usually you can take care of business in that 3 hours. So they're not really used often. And the only other thing here would be the phase shifters. They're always useful. And I do like to buy the Mind Stones for when I'm upgrading elves. But as of right now, I'm not working on them, so I'll save my currency. And yeah, I already have a bunch on me. So next we're going to come to the task shop. This will unlock when you're able to do bounties, I believe at level 38. So tip to new players, we have event bounties now. So if you look at them, it's going to say like event SS bounty and then like event S rank bounty. These are different than a regular S rank bounty. So typically like bounties do cost a lot of your passes and they're not super easy to get. Like you see here, you get 90 a week for one asteroid. This is always worth it to buy, which I'll do. And then outside of that, you have to use your time structures, which would be this currency. You get them from daily and opening the boxes mentioned in a previous tab. So they're not always around, and it costs 12 of them to get you 20 of the passes for your bounties. So basically, try to only spend your swirl passes on event bounties since they are more rewarding than the regular counterparts. I literally don't even buy regular bounties anymore. As far as like spending Armada tokens, which is what would be this little currency, they're like ranger creds, but they come from your Armada or your guild. You can use them to buy time swirl passes. That's a safe buy if you're desperate. I would refrain from using crystals, of course, because it's not worth it, and that almost costs one pull, so yeah, I would definitely never do that. And that's pretty much it for the shop. Like, passes for ranger creds and time swirl is okay. The one asteroid purchase for 90 a week is okay, and just make sure you're only buying event bounties. If you're someone who likes to do them all, like, that's fine, but it will cost you a lot per week. I typically try to do double S and S rank bounties personally. When you're lower level, double S and S rank may be too hard unless you have a friend to carry you. But at that point, stick with doing A and S maybe. B is less rewarding, so I'd prioritize like double S, S and A is what I'm saying. The random bounty is cool because it can spawn as anything, but I don't really like the randomness of it. Like, I typically am unlucky and get B ranks from it, so I just try to stay away from buying these as well. Next, we're going to look at the Armada Terminal. So the Ranger credits mentioned in the last tab, are predominantly used here. So you can use them to buy Honkai cores, which are used to upgrade in-game weapons, but personally I never have enough because I'm too busy using them on other stuff. As far as what I use them on, I like to buy the phase shifters so I have a steady flow of them since they are needed. And I'll actually pick these up now for the week. Okay. And then you get monthly dorm supply tickets here as well. You get 2 per month. So these are worth buying. Everything else I kind of like put off. I don't really buy the other stuff here. The Honkai core is worth it if you ever find yourself with 5,000, but me personally, buying the phase shifters keeps mine pretty low. And if there are Blood's Embrace fragments here, I do buy her. I don't buy Jingwei though, because Blood's Embrace is just a little bit stronger. Here we have the Master Shop. So what these currencies are is when you take on a cadet, as they complete tasks, you will get School Inspector emblems, and those are used to buy stuff from this shop. So yeah, again, Honkai core is always worth it. As you can see, I recently brought one. There's another one sitting here for 8,000. That's worth it as well. If you're looking to make things like the Anna Stigmata, these spatial lenses would be worth it to buy. Time swirl passes are worth it as well if you're focusing on farming bounties. And let's see here. Of course, the phase shifters and AE Imaginons are worth it. The reroll things I'd probably stay away from because you can get them pretty easily every week with gold pins. So I'd save your tokens for things like cores, the Imaginons and phase shifters, the spatial lenses, the time swirl passes. Everything else is kind of like a whatever buy. Like the skin doesn't do anything for you except cosmetics. This is just a ribbon for your frame. This is just a refrigerator for your dorm. And this is just a doll decoration. So yeah, they're not really super useful. Your tickets here are called boosters. They're used to autocomplete dailies. you kind of get a lot of them as you just play the game. They're given out pretty frequently, so I wouldn't buy them here. And unless you're really desperate for skill materials, again, like, there's something that you'll end up with a lot of, so refrain from buying them here. And that'll kind of be it for the Master Shop. This won't unlock until level 70 after you graduate from your sensei. Or if you never got a sensei, I believe you unlock the Master Shop and you're able to take on students at 75 automatically. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what happens if you never take on a sensei as a cadet. Alrighty, so now we have the Asteroid Shop. So typically, this is the main thing I go for from here. I collect the AE Imaginons and convert them into Honkai Core Shards because, again, these are needed to upgrade ultimate weapons. And yeah, that's about it. Like, you will catch me on occasion using Asteroid on phase shifters because they're important, and maybe AE Imaginons, but outside of that, I'm really stingy with my Asteroid, and yeah, I usually don't ever spend it, like, at least not in this tab of the shop. And since this costs AE Imaginons and they're farmed elsewhere, I don't always need Asteroid to get them, so yeah. This is my major buy from here. Coming over to the Fragment Shop, you are able to use Asteroid to purchase weekly fragments, and it can get very expensive. So, for example, if I were to buy these, it would be 18,000 Asteroid. So as of right now, like, I am working on Blood's Embrace. She's my priority, so I will be buying these, of course, so I'll just do that right now so I don't have to come back. So she's done. But basically how this shop works is it can get pricey, so until you have a huge clump of Asteroid, I would take your time with it and really know what you want to get if you're going to do it. Now, for example, say you decide to work on Flame Sakitama. She's a daily buy, so you can spend 7,200 a day on her. And that would get you 27 fragments a day. 24, I'm sorry. Math, right? But yeah. 3 times 8 is 24. Either way, this is still expensive to a new player. I would refrain from doing it, but if you do it for a Valkyrie or for an elf, stick to what you're buying. Don't, like, buy, like, say 70 Flame Sakitama fragments, and then decide halfway through you want to start buying Luna Kindred, because you're never going to get anything done that way. You want to kind of focus one thing at a time. So, like, I'm going to be focusing this elf here until she's completely maxed out, and then my Asteroid will start going to other things. Now, looking here, we have the Augment Core Shop. So if you remember in other videos I've mentioned focusing Valkyrie Accipiter or focusing things like Yamabuki Armor for their core. So this is where you would be able to get the core. These are also great to use Asteroid on, and something that should definitely be prioritized. So as far as which cores are worth it, we have this little Bronya core. Komita cores are worth it because it will turn your Yamabuki Armor into a Drive Komita, which is a very competitive physical support. She's kind of fallen off a little bit, but Ophanimon, or however you want to say this, these cores are worth it for turning your Valkyrie Ranger into Void Drifter. She is a decent physical type. She still delivers good damage. There are better choices in the meta now, though, but yeah, if you're running Valkyrie Ranger and you like her, this is not a bad thing to upgrade her into. Void Drifter's pretty good. Now we have HOTF, our Hawk of the Fog, or what I like to call her, Hersher of the Free-to-Play. So she's a really good free-to-play Lightning Psychic type Valkyrie, and Valkyrie Accipiter would turn into Hawk of the Fog with these fog chips here. So a huge advice for someone who plans to be 100% free-to-play, and that means they won't be able to get a Hersher May for a prolonged period of time, if at all, then they should definitely start buying Valkyrie Accipiter fragments and using these cores as soon as this shop is available to start turning her into Hawk of the Fog to give them a really strong meta Valkyrie. That won't cost them a dime. She can be upgraded to Triple S completely free, and you can max her core completely free by buying Asteroids here. This would probably be priority number 1. Next up we have Danzai Spectromancer cores, which are used to augment the Shadow Dash May, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, Shadow Dash is right in front of me. These are fine to buy. She's a great physical support, but again, like, out of everything here, So far, Hawk of the Fog is probably the better buy. Twilight cores are used to augment your Violet Executor Teresa, who you'd be able to get from Dorm Supply. She is an S rank, or you can get her fragments from the War Treasury above. Twilight Paladin is a great physical type Valkyrie. She really counters out Jizo Matama, so she's good for doing like some ranked content. But if you're looking for a meta physical type, Molotov Cherry, or I think is her name, or Knuckles, because I just call Rosalia, and Lilia Sonic and Knuckles because they're red and blue. So this would be the core for Knuckles. Now, this is a really strong metaphysical type right now. Fervent Tempo is amazing. So this is also not a bad thing to focus on. Issue is, to get Rosalia, you'd have to buy her from the Memorial Arena War Treasury, or luck into her somehow. If her gacha is up for whatever reason, but it is rarely up at this stage in the game. Either way though, things that are really a priority early on, since you won't have a Rosalia early on as a completely new player, focus on getting your Hawk of the Fog to double S and triple S, and it will take some time. Don't think it'll happen in a week. But focus on working her up, focus on getting her Fog chips. The next thing I would focus from here would be Komita, the Komita core, for your Drive Komita, and work on getting your Yamabuki to double S as soon as possible, because that's when her most important skills unlock. From there, you may already have a Violet Executor or a Molotov Cherry. If you're still gun happy for working on cores, you could go for either one, but if you have, say, both Valkyries, for example, Molotov Cherry would lead you to a stronger Valkyrie, as she is stronger than Twilight Paladin, and the fact that she's a psychic physical type is a huge boon. And then like Danzai Spectromancer and Void Drifter, just for, like having okay Valkyries in the background. Like Spectromancer's a great support, and Void Drifter is a good physical DPS. She's just her age is kind of showing is all. And while Striker Fulminata is super fun, she's probably the weakest buy here, which is unfortunate because I do love how she looks and I love playing her. Either way, I would put these off like till very last are for waifu or collection purposes. So looking at the Mithril Shop, honestly, I hardly ever use it except to buy these United tokens when I need them, and to buy these time seal boxes using these Honkai pieces, which these are pretty easy to come by at later level. So yeah, well, let me cancel that. I want to buy all of them, not just some. There we go. And then we just pop them open, get our rewards, and go on with our day. But this is the main thing I buy from here. I get this daily, and then outside of like the United tokens when I need them, I kind of leave this shop be. Which is why I end up with a lot of Mithril. The coin shop, I'll be real with you guys, I never use it. If I were to use it, this may be the only thing I would ever buy, but at 50k for 2, I just take my time and farm them up. So yeah, this is something that's kind of easily avoided, especially for newer players if you're going to level Valkyries. There's no reason to be spending all this gold here. Alrighty. So the final tab, and I know it's been lengthy, but I wanted to shed some light on the shop for you guys and talk about the currencies. But the final tab would be the event shop. So right now, like the event has ended, so I'll move away from here, since it doesn't really help like for explanation. So first we'll look at the story shop. So this is the current event going on for our current story featuring Fu Hua. You're going to be able to earn these assurances from doing tasks in this chapter, and then you'll come over to this story shop and you'll be able to buy things from here. Now, as far as priorities, I went for the focus supply ticket because that's a gacha pull. There's no reason to not get it. I believe it was 800 assurances, so it's really not too costly for you. The next thing I would focus is the limited stigmata, because these don't always come back around, if at all, so make sure to get your hands on it. And this one is actually pretty good for a free stigmata. Like 6% crit rate, and then crit damage at 15 and a 30 hit combo, and they scale up as you level her. This isn't half bad if I'm being honest. So yeah, this is not a bad stigma to buy for free to play. So definitely get your hands on her. After that, I would probably prioritize getting the Asteroid, and then the AE Imaginons, and then probably the Divine Prayer in that order, and then going back for the SS Imaginons. Just because Divine Prayer is a really decent physical support later on, and she's also decent for elemental support with her Thunder Kakaku and God May. So yeah, like, there's no reason to not buy her. Like, if you play the game daily, you'll be able to get everything here, and you'll probably run out of currency on one of these things you can buy 99 times. As far as, like, when you buy everything that's in small amounts, what to prioritize after that's done, I always go for the Twin Soul Crystals, because to me they hold more value than the homemade chest. But that's just me personally. And the last thing we'll look at is the bounty shop. So this was added with the event bounties, and this is why they're so important to do. For doing event bounties, you will get bounty silver to drop, as well as the usual ether fuel, which is used to craft things from bounties and what have you. But the major thing I want to look at for this are the bounty silvers, because that's what runs this shop. So as far as this shop, again, if you want to spend them here, like, go for it if you're some crazy whale, but I don't suggest using crystals for Time Swirl passes ever. As far as buying them from here with the time structures, that's always fine. I'll go ahead and pick up 20 myself. Buying these up is fine if you're looking to craft, like, the Ana Stigs, or, like, any sort of Stigmata that takes them. The Stigs are worth it. Like, Ana is a grade 3 Stigmata, so yeah, it's worth it to work on crafting her, but it is going to cost you. So for a new player, probably you'd be better hoarding your currencies as opposed to burning them on spatial convectrons and spatial lenses. But, like, that's up to you. Ether fuel is always a safe buy because it's useful everywhere. Using your coins on Ana fragments is always a safe buy, as she's a really strong high-end ice stigmata, and she will work with Memento, who is a free ice-type Valkyrie, so you can get yourself a really good build just from doing that. Thalys is worth it, of course. Robert Perry is always worth it to go for. Pretty much everything here is worth it to craft because they're all good in-game gear. Like, maybe like stuff like the Third Sacred Relic here isn't worth it, but like things like Hyper Railguns are worth it. Things like Briareus Pre are worth it. This is worth it for your Flame Sakitama, as it's her best weapon. Ice Effie is worth it for your Memento Sakura, as it's her best weapon. So yeah, like, out of the weapons here, those would be what's worth. As far as the Stigs, any of the grade 2 Stigs and up would be worth it. The grade 1s are a little bit on the mess side, but like, things like Michelangelo are okay. Things like Monet are definitely okay, especially Monet T. She's super worth it. The full Robert Perry set is worth it because it will lead you into getting Ana, and Thalys here is worth it as well. Higoku Maru's okay on Flame Sakitama, and I forget which Shakespeare it is. I believe M is the one that gives a crap load of fire damage. That's okay on some Valkyries too. And as far as the stigmas down here, Lear B is a good stigmata if you're running a 100% HP build. And yeah, and Nohime is worth it, because you need Nohime to craft Robert Perry. But overall, like, this is stuff you're going to work up over time. Again, don't ever feel like you need to get any of this, like, in a day or in a month. Like, this is something you work towards. And again, the advice stands, like, when you're, same advice as if you're buying fragments. If you're going to be getting, like, these ghosts, make sure you stick to what you want. Don't, like, buy 20 Anas and then, you know, decide that you want to work on Thalys. Like, if you're working on Ana, finish Ana. So that would entail getting Nohime up to snuff, getting your Robert Perry's up to snuff, and then getting your Ana pieces. Work on it all in one shot, or you'll never get it done. Don't deviate from your goals, is what I'm saying. And in this shop, you can basically use your ether fuel to buy any of the items from the other shop. So if you have a surplus of ether fuel, this is fine, but since it is used to craft this stuff, I would suggest hoarding it and kind of holding off on spending it here. So yeah, that was a lot. If you sat through the whole video, I appreciate it. But yeah, that's pretty much like a rundown of the shop, what I do in the shop, and what you will be doing in the shop as you get higher level. And yeah, any veterans who watch the video, like, feel free to leave further tips if I missed anything. But, oh, my throat is dry. I'm gonna go get a drink of water. If you found it helpful, please like or subscribe, as it really does help out the channel. And with that, yeah, you guys go ahead, you take care. Good luck leveling your new accounts, or good luck in your gachas, or whatever you're doing in this game. I hope you are enjoying it if you are a new player, as it's really fun to play. And yeah, be sure to fight for everything that's beautiful in this world. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.